I will trust the process, work hard. I'm just willing to face this new challenge.
Frank Brian Ntilikina, born July 28, 1998. Frank Ntilikina's journey to the NBA was filled with anticipation and high hopes. Coming from France, he was considered one of the top international prospects in the 2017 NBA draft, largely due to his impressive defensive abilities, athleticism, and versatility. Standing 6'4" with a 7-foot wingspan, Ntilikina's physical attributes were tailor-made for today's NBA, where guard play is expected to be dynamic, multi-dimensional, and capable of impacting the game on both ends of the floor. His strong basketball IQ, ability to guard multiple positions, and potential as a two-way player quickly earned him attention from NBA scouts. The New York Knicks, in the midst of a rebuild, selected him with the 8th overall pick, hoping that he could be a foundational piece for their future. For a franchise that had long struggled to build a competitive roster, Ntilikina represented a fresh start, a potential building block who could contribute immediately, particularly on the defensive end. Early on, there were glimpses of what made him so intriguing. His composure, poise, and maturity, despite being a teenager, were also seen as signs that he could grow into a solid NBA player. For a Knicks team that was in need of stability, Ntilikina's skill set seemed to fit the mold of what they needed, a player who could guard the opposing team's best player while developing offensively over time. However, as the years passed, it became clear that Ntilikina's potential had not translated into the kind of impact that was expected of a top 10 draft pick. While he maintained his reputation as a strong defender, his offensive game never developed to the level that would allow him to thrive in the modern NBA. In a league that demands versatility, scoring, and playmaking from its guards, Ntilikina struggled to keep up. His inability to develop a reliable jump shot combined with his limited offensive arsenal left him unable to contribute consistently on that end of the floor. Over time, this lack of offensive growth overshadowed his defensive contributions, making it hard for him to secure a permanent role with the Knicks. So, where did it all go wrong for Frank Ntilikina? How did a player with such great potential fail to meet the expectations set for him? To understand his career in totality, it's important to understand the factors that contributed to his struggles. The combination of his offensive limitations, inconsistent opportunities within the Knicks' system, and mental and confidence challenges have all played a part in Ntilikina's inability to fully realize his potential in the NBA. These elements kept him from becoming the player many expected him to be when he was drafted. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Frank Ntilikina is a 6'4" point guard shooting guard born in Belgium and raised in France that emerged as a top international prospect ahead of the 2017 NBA draft. Standing 6'4" with a 7-foot wingspan, Ntilikina was known for his elite defensive skills, basketball IQ, and versatility. Playing for Strasbourg IG in France, he impressed scouts with his ability to guard multiple positions, though his offensive game, particularly his shooting, was still developing. The New York Knicks selected him with the 8th overall pick, hoping his defensive prowess could anchor their rebuild. Early on, Ntilikina showed his potential as a defender, but struggled to find consistency offensively. Despite flashes of talent, his inability to develop a reliable offensive game hindered his growth. As the Knicks underwent several roster and coaching changes, Ntilikina never settled into a clear role, and his career failed to meet the high expectations placed on him when he entered the league. Stunt number 1, lack of offensive development. One of the most significant reasons Frank Ntilikina's growth was stunted was his inability to develop a reliable and consistent offensive game in the league. When the Knicks selected him in the 2017 draft, they saw his potential on defense but knew that his offensive game would need significant improvement. Unfortunately, over the course of his career, his offensive development never took the necessary steps forward to make him a complete player. A major issue for Ntilikina has been his inability to shoot the basketball efficiently. He entered the league with a shaky jump shot, and despite working on it, his shooting never reached a level where he could consistently space the floor or punish defenses for sagging off him. Throughout his first few seasons, his shooting percentages were subpar. In his rookie year, he shot just 36% from the field and 31% from three. While he showed flashes of improvement in later seasons, Ntilikina never became a reliable outside shooter, which severely limited his offensive impact. In today's NBA, a guard who cannot shoot or space the floor is at a distinct disadvantage. The shift toward a three-point heavy game means that guards are expected to have a respectable shooting ability, especially if they are not the primary ball handler. Ntilikina's inability to consistently knock down shots from deep meant that defenses could easily sag off him, limiting his ability to drive to the basket or create opportunities for teammates. His scoring struggles also extended to him finishing at the rim. He was never known for his explosiveness or ability to finish through contact, and this became evident when he faced more athletic defenders at the NBA level. His inability to create scoring opportunities for himself, combined with his lack of range from outside, made him a very limited offensive option. To further complicate matters, Ntilikina's playmaking never reached the level of expectation. While he was touted as a solid ball handler and capable of running an offense, he never became the facilitator the Knicks needed. His assist numbers were modest at best, and he often struggled to create for others. A player with Ntilikina's defensive gifts could have been an ideal two-way player, but his offensive deficiencies prevented him from reaching that potential. In the end, his inability to develop an offensive game that could match his defense left him unable to fully contribute in a league that can place a premium on scoring and playmaking. Stunt number 2, inconsistent opportunity and fit within the system. Another significant factor in Frank Ntilikina's failure to meet expectations was the inconsistency in terms of opportunity and his fit within the Knicks' system. While he was drafted with high hopes, the Knicks' constant turnover in coaching staffs and roster changes over the years made it difficult for Ntilikina to find stability under coaches like Jeff Hornacek, David Fizdale, and Tom Thibodeau. Ntilikina's role was never clearly defined. At times, he was tasked being the team's primary point guard, running the offense and distributing the ball, while other times he was pushed into more of a defensive role, focusing on guarding the opposing team's best player. This lack of consistency in terms of responsibilities left him struggling to develop the confidence and rhythm he needed to succeed. Furthermore, the Knicks' roster itself was not particularly well suited to Ntilikina's skill set. The team was in the midst of a rebuild for much of his tenure, and there were frequent roster changes which further hindered his ability to form chemistry with his teammates. While he excelled as a defender, he didn't have the offensive weapons around him to help alleviate the pressure, and this made it even more difficult for him to find his place on the court. In a league that demands versatility, Ntilikina's inability to fit into an established system or complement his teammates on the offensive end made it difficult for him to reach his full potential. His struggles with adjusting to the NBA's style of play also played a part in his inconsistent opportunities. The Knicks, despite drafting him as a point guard, didn't give him the kind of long-term stability that a young player like him needed to develop. Instead, he was often relegated to the bench. This lack of continuity was detrimental to his growth, as he never had the time or support to develop his game and adjust to the NBA's fast pace and high expectations. Stunt number 3, mental and confidence struggles. Lastly, why Frank Ntilikina's NBA career didn't go as planned is his mental approach to the game and the struggles he faced with his confidence. While he was always known for his poise and maturity, the pressures playing in New York and the constant scrutiny from fans and media affected his ability to stay assertive on the court. In a high-pressure environment like the New York Knicks, confidence is crucial, especially for a young player who was trying to find his way in the NBA. Ntilikina often appeared hesitant on the court, particularly when his shot wasn't falling. Instead of taking initiative and attempting to create offense, he deferred to teammates, which limited his effectiveness. This passivity and lack of assertiveness were especially noticeable during moments when he was faced with adversity. When the Knicks were struggling as a team, Ntilikina's mental fortitude was often questioned, and his lack of confidence on the court hindered his growth. These mental struggles also appeared in his defense. While he was still a strong defender, his inconsistency sometimes reflected his lack of focus during difficult stretches. In a league where mental toughness is just as important as physical ability, Ntilikina's struggles with confidence and consistency were key factors in his inability to make an impact in the NBA. All in all, Frank Ntilikina's failure to meet NBA expectations can be attributed to his lack of offensive development, inconsistent opportunities, and mental struggles. Ultimately, these factors combine to limit his growth and impact in the NBA. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.